Well, Monsey, the police department, and the housing authority. Fox 45 News demanding accountability from the three key players in the response to the mass shooting at the Brooklyn homes.
We are pressing for answers more than 2 weeks after that shooting. Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Those three agencies face tough questions from residents and city council members during a hearing last week. Some council members admitting after the hearing there's still a lot we don't know.
As the questions continue, Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley is formally nominated before the council. Fox 45's Keith Daniels is questioning council members about that nomination. Mackenzie Frost sat down with the president of the Housing Authority about its involvement in the investigation. Our team coverage begins with Jeff Abel and the questions we have about Safe Streets. Jeff?
Well, the unanswered questions about the Safe Streets program drew fire here at City Hall last week, and tonight that fire is still burning. At City Hall tonight, we went searching for answers about the $20 million Safe Streets program. Is it a safe investment for taxpayers?
I'm not saying to totally cut out Monsey's budget.
Do you trust them?
Well, yeah, I trust them. The thing about it is that we just want transparency.
The mystery about the crime-fighting strategy became even more tangled at a city council hearing last week.
And I want to know what it is that you guys are doing.
Council members struggled to understand the role Safe Streets workers played in the Brooklyn mass shooting. But directors at Monsey, which oversees the program, left some council members frustrated.
These basic questions need to be answered.
Do you have trust in Monsey?
I, again, have deep-rooted concerns in the expansion and growth of the agency.
At City Hall today, the frustrations were still simmering as some council members still demanding answers. Should there be an independent investigation?
I think the mayor and his team know exactly what they're doing.
They are entitled to operate their city agency underneath the mayor. It's the mayor's discretion on their funding and what their functions are. I just think that they need to be more transparent and they need to explain to the taxpayers of the city what functions that they're actually providing.
Is there any reason why there hasn't been an investigation before now?
Again, I really can't say.
Earlier today, we emailed city council members asking, have any council members seen any records about Safe Streets mediations? Have you seen any copies of reports or audits of Safe Streets sites? And given the information that's not been provided, what reason do you have to believe what Monsey tells you? So far, no replies. But the recent questions about Safe Streets workers are hardly enough to jeopardize support.
We don't know whether or not, if Safe Streets knew about the party, we also know that a lot of people knew about the party and didn't do anything either. So I wouldn't just be pigeonholing them, okay? So I think that, the scrutiny that Safe Streets is under is quite unfair.
They've been able to bridge relationships and rapport building that police officers have not been able to broach, public officials have not been able to approach. And so I really think that we really need to reframe the conversation about the legitimacy of Safe Streets.
Hoping that, that some data is shown to us and there's more transparency.
Otherwise,
we're still at square one.
well, council members are preparing to soon call a second hearing with hopes of getting answers to those very same questions they asked last week. We are live at City Hall tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. Fox 45 News sent questions to the mayor's office about Monsey and the Safe Streets program, including what records, if any, have you received regarding Monsey's involvement in the activities related to the Brooklyn mass shooting? Why aren't you putting a hold on any further funding of Monsey until there is a full external investigation into the integrity and credibility of this taxpayer recipient money? And in the event that the city council recommends an investigation, would you support it? Under your administration, how many Monsey employees, if any, have criminal records? Why is that information not public? So far, we have not heard back from those questions.
Well, Fox 45 News has been investigating the Safe Streets program for years, and we've been working to find out more about the program's finances and the ex-convicts the program hires. We want to know how the city is making sure employees aren't continuing to commit crimes while working for Safe Streets or Monsey. Prosecutors say in 2020, Safe Streets worker Ronald Alexander told officers he was working for Safe Streets during a traffic stop and let go. During a federal search, though, at his home a few days later, police found guns guns and drugs. In his plea agreement, Alexander confessed to taking drugs from people in the community as part of his work for Safe Streets. Last year, Fox 45 News obtained an email sent on behalf of then Monzi director Shante Jackson, pledging support for a Safe Streets worker after he was charged in a deadly hit-and-run crash. The email said the man was released following the assistance and support of Mayor Scott and Monzi. A spokesperson later told Fox 45 News the email was referring to emotional support. In March, another Safe Streets worker was found not guilty in a murder case. He had a prior criminal record, including second-degree murder, assault, drug, and gun convictions when Safe Streets hired him back in 2019. The family of the victim in that case sharing some sharp criticism for Safe Streets.
Has your view of the Safe Streets program changed throughout this?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. Yes. My belief is that our city government is financing a criminal enterprise. I believe that within my heart. Our city government is so invested in it that it's turning a blind eye to what it really is.
Earlier this year, after Fox 45 News threatened to sue, the city finally handed over contracts with the nonprofits operating the Safe Streets sites. The nonprofits are required to pay for a criminal background check for all employees and contractors and volunteers. But there are many things that we just don't know about Safe Streets and how it works. For instance, we've asked how Safe Streets uses the money it receives from the city of Baltimore. How are employees trained and who are they? Our questions are all listed right here. Fox 45 News also asks if Safe Streets workers, if they're not employed by the city, why won't they tell us who they are? And Safe Streets says it's conducted hundreds of mediations, but we're still not sure what that includes or what the program's benchmarks of success are. Right now, it's not clear how those mediations are reviewed either. That's something council members asked about during Thursday's hearing.
I don't have an itemized breakdown of all 5 of the conflicts with specifics, but I can share the nature of those. I'm not aware of weapons being involved in any of the conflicts that were mediated in that 5. Our preliminary assessment is that these were not directly connected to the event.
I'm not sure how that assumption is being made. So either they were reviewed or they weren't reviewed. My mind's boggled as to how it was not completely, fully reviewed.
And that brings us to our question of the day. Should there be an independent investigation into Safe Streets? So far, 98% of those who voted say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
Well, the Housing Authority of Baltimore City also facing criticism for the Brooklyn Day block party shooting. Janet Abrahams, the president and CEO of HABC, says her staff had no idea the event was going to happen this year. In a First on Fox interview, Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost questioned Abrahams today. Here's part of that interview talking about HABC's involvement in the investigation.
Do you know who held the event?
After the event took place, our investigators went out. And I can sit here and tell you, yes, we know what units provide the electricity for the event. Yes, we do. And we have then turned that information over to the proper authorities.
Will the people who are responsible for throwing this party be able to stay in their public housing at Brooklyn Homes?
So, that's a good question. Right now, I think we're more leaning towards MOUs with families to say, you know, this happened. Because I know in their heart they are saying, oh my God, why? If I didn't do something, this would not have happened. And so we don't want to be the bearer of bad news and put people out
30
because
people
they made
were
a
shot.
mistake.
30 people were shot, though. Is that a mistake?
No. When I say sometimes 30 people were shot, 8 of those families belong to us. The rest of them did not live on HABC property. What I mean when I say that is, I don't want to be punitive with residents because you made a mistake. Something happened, right? You provide the electricity, you did something against your lease. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to evict you, but we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about what we need to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Well, Fox 45 News was able to confirm the U-Haul seen at the crime scene was the same truck that hauled in party supplies to Brooklyn Homes earlier in the day. We also reviewed court documents showing the man who rented the truck also has a history of alleged drug distribution in the Brooklyn Homes neighborhood. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost asked the Housing Authority president about that. And you can find the full interview on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
The police department admits it made mistakes responding to the mass shooting. The acting commissioner told council members the department missed key indicators. Now some wonder if Richard Worley is the right man for the job, especially because the city didn't hold a nationwide search.
This incident, we told you guys this incident was going to happen when we had our last press conference. This is why you need community engagement on the front end before you bring in a police commissioner.
Despite those concerns, Worley was officially nominated today. Keith Daniels pressed council members on the issues. So, Keith, what are those council members telling you about Worley and whether they want him to serve as commissioner?
Well, Kai, we talked to several council members about the matter today and tonight. What they're saying about Worley.
EA 23-0208.
At Baltimore City Hall, the City Council's meeting. Top of the agenda, the introduction of the bill nominating acting Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley as the department's permanent commissioner.
I want to have a conversation with him.
The confirmation process now begins.
Now it's time to pass the torch.
Just minutes after former Police Commissioner Michael Harrison stepped down last month, his deputy commissioner stepped in.
Follow the model that the commissioner brought.
The mayor wasted no time announcing Deputy Commissioner Worley would be his nominee to replace Harrison. No one else considered. No national search. At Monday's council meeting, pressing members on that point, including Yitzy Schleiffer, chair of the council's Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee.
I don't have concerns. I have full confidence in Commissioner Worley to lead the police department.
That's something that certainly we'd like to have seen. A national search, just one, to get as much insight as possible. That said, we will evaluate him for his ability to do the job.
The mayor's move to forego a national search has members of the NAACP shaking their heads, speaking out on the matter just days after Mayor Scott's choice.
The process to select a new leader for BPD must start with community engagement and partnership. The safety of our city depends on it.
Meanwhile, back inside City Hall, pushing the process.
Would I like to see a little more community engagement in the search process? Yes. However, I look forward to the council's role in oversight.
We are down to a year of this term, and that national search is a long process. We need to get someone permanent as soon as we can.
Well, the council's oversight committee will hold a hearing for acting Commissioner Worley August 15th. Now, if approved by the committee, Worley would then face a vote from the full 15-member council. Now, no dates yet for that vote, and there's no deadline for the council's consideration. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you for watching. Here's another video for you to watch. Also take some time to subscribe to our YouTube channel.